This video is going to go over the travel deductions that are available for you to take on your taxes. So first we will go over what a deduction is. Then we'll go over the common types of travel deductions that you can get, which are home office deduction, temporary workplace deduction, or going from one workplace to another deduction. And then we'll go over substantiation, or the records that you need to take in order for you to claim those deductions. In order to take a deduction, the taxpayer has the burden of proof to prove that they are eligible for that deduction. The reasons behind this include the importance of tax revenue, the importance of voluntary compliance with taxes in general, and the taxpayer's easier access to the necessary information. So typically, commuting is not a deductible expense. In Commissioner v. Flowers, an individual lived in one town and worked in another town that was 185 miles away. They tried to deduct the expense of traveling from work to their house. They weren't able to because the court found that it was her choice to live where she lived, and as it was her personal choice, the government wasn't going to give her a deduction on her taxes for making that choice. And the bottom line is traveling between where you choose to live and where you work is not deductible. There are a few ways that you can claim deductions for traveling to work. Like I mentioned before, they're a home office deduction, temporary workplace deduction, and a deduction for travel between work sites. So first is the home office deduction. So in order to claim this deduction, you must have your home office be your principal place of business. And the court typically is pretty strict about finding that you have a home office as your principal place of business. They look at the relative importance of the activities performed at your home office versus performed at any other location, as well as the time spent at each location. The home office must be regularly and exclusively used for business. This means you can't have a home office that you also, just browse the internet or let your kids play on the computer in. It must be for the convenience of your employer, not your own convenience. And you can't rent any part of your home out to your employer and also claim that you have a home office. So if you do have a home office, you can deduct travel from your home to another work location that's in the same trade or business. So you can also take a deduction when you have a temporary work site. In order to take this deduction, you need to have a regular place of business, like a home office or just a regular office, and then you need to travel to a temporary work site. And the temporary worksite must be outside of the metropolitan area of your regular place of business. And in order for a worksite to be considered temporary, it must be expected to be less than 1 year. So what it actually lasts isn't important, it's what's expected that's important. When you do have a temporary worksite, you can deduct your travel from your regular office to that temporary worksite that's outside of that metropolitan area. Okay, so the last way to deduct travel expenses is if you are traveling between work sites. And this one's a little more simple than the other ones. It's simply if you're at one work site, typically if you're doing construction or something like that, that's where this is really common. If you're at one work site, you travel to another work site. In the same day, you can deduct the expenses of traveling from one place to the next. So in order to claim a deduction, you have to keep records. And these records have to be kept in real time, and they have to show what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why you are taking the deduction. So you need the amount of the expense, you need the time and place of the travel, you need the business purpose of the travel. And then depending on the type of work you're doing, you may need to also have the business relationship of yourself and the persons that you were meeting or entertaining. And the records, like I said before, must be made contemporaneously. So that is how you take deductions for travel.